Greetings and welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst of Lists. The best and worst of lists. You'll not be able to find a finer worst of list, no matter how hard you search or how much attention to detail you engage this search with. It just can't be done. There's no finer worst of list or better worst of list. It's the best worst of list. Why don't you just get it through your thick skull, you rotten, mistrustful ding-dong? Can't you take my word for it already? Whatever. And I'm your host for today's worst of list. My name is Rex. Rex, all he touches. And, well, quite honestly, I'm going to be honest with you here. My heart swims in blood. It is one of the honors of my life to present this phantasmagorical top 10 worst of list. Perhaps the finest in worst of lists that I've ever come into contact with. Period. End of story. It's top 10 worst scratch and sniff scents. Scents is a difficult word to accurately pronounce, by the way. I think I deserve extra brownie points for something of that nature. It's difficult. The difficulty level is hovering around a 10 out of 10. Before we get to the business at hand, I've got some important elements to reveal to you. Number one, I will do my very best to make this as accurate as possible. Because my commitment to excellence is as unparalleled. However, there might be certain elements which the lofty goals by which I measure my own achievements may not be completely fulfilled. Therefore, I insist that you not trust anything that I have to say as being accurate. Instead, I want you to fact-check everything in this whole goddamn episode. And, or at least, the very least, anytime you feel like there's something that I might have missed or not been completely accurate on. Number two, I'm not going to be some partisan hack. I'm not down with it. It's a divide and conquer situation, and it's totally obvious. Look, you've spent, I don't know, something at least 60, 70 years having your brains filled with pre-digested, innocuous drivel that's turned every single one of you into the most conservative, cloistered, pile of intellectual blubber. I haven't ever seen anything as bad as what you are. This cult culture of ours has really done a number on you. And, one thing after another is just this. I mean, take a look at the output of your cultural mechanisms. All this stupid, lowbrow, fantasy, bulldink. Jesus Christ. Take a look at it. Take a real look at it. God damn it. Take off the rose-colored glasses. Quit complaining about how we're no longer the again, whatever that is, the again from Make America Great Again. Quit looking for some panacea of, some point at which we were great. There wasn't anything that was, anything remarkable in terms of where we could just stop trying or stop engaging and just drink the Kool-Aid relentlessly. At some point, any point on the timeline, and I've tried to find some place where everybody was moving in the same direction and the direction was forward and upward, and it didn't happen. Maybe in some aspects of the 60s, but still, even then, our government was stepping on our throats with this lousy Vietnam War and all that kind of bulldink. And still, it hasn't happened yet. The phrase that we need is just make America great, period. There is no again. Just make it great. What's wrong with that? Should we all be on the same page saying, like, we're not going to allow for religious or racial or sexually oriented intolerance ever anymore. We're not going to rest while one person suffers in unfair and hazardous working conditions to give extra profits above and beyond anything that anyone considered to be normal or fair to the lousy sociopaths in the corner offices and the boardrooms of this country. We're not going to rest until everyone is fed, everyone is housed fairly, until everyone is safe. Safety. Just from not being oppressed by somebody who hates them because of some mythologized idea of what they are, instead of looking at who they are. Are you a decent person? Yes. Are you a nice person to others? Yes. Are you tolerant of others, to the nth degree, and empathetic towards those who are suffering? Yes. Okay, good. You're great. Go on. Go have a great life. But why should people like that be unsafe? Why should they feel unsafe in this world? Until we get to those things, we are not great. We're aspiring and we're looking for ways to become better. Always, just like everybody should be. Jesus Christ, you shouldn't need some fat old fuzzball slob like me to tell you that, but unfortunately it seems like you do. It seems like you do because your leaders suck, your culture is infantile, and you're spoiled brats. Most of you. And maybe you don't deserve it. Maybe you've been, indoctrinated and hurt and damaged by somebody or something within our society that never made sense, that was never fair. Join the club. Today's top 10 worst of us, top 10 worst scratch and sniff sense. And if you don't like it, get over yourself. It's not my fault. It's probably your fault. Look, there's, the evildoers are in charge of everything, right? They can't help themselves. They were born nasty. Something happened to them. They became damaged goods, and now they're pathogens that are on a one-way ego trip to a place that has zero emotions and zero feelings or caring about anybody besides themselves. This maniacally driven pathological psychosis to just, suck everyone else around them dry like parasites. Anyway, there's not going to be I'm not taking any applications now for valet service. And the position has been filled. Just want to mention that. And there's no, look, I'm not going to blame anybody for, anything anymore because you just, don't blame me. I'm just a victim. So you don't have to worry about being blamed. You don't internalize it. I'll say things like, it's your fault or that you suck. And things like that. But no, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I don't want you to feel like you could have done something, even though the evildoers can't help themselves. The only people who have any kind of free will, really, are the people who are being, turned into victims because they have free will. Because they represent the danger to the status quo of these guys just gobbling up everything. Because they know that you're out there with some ability to be able to act autonomously and make decisions and rational decisions and work towards the common good and things like that. And they fear that. They fear that and they hate that. And that's why they've been oppressing you. They're not stealing everything out from under us because they're endlessly greedy. They realize that the more resources that they suck in and control themselves means that there's less for you to be able to help turn around the fortunes of those robber barons. They're sucking us dry because then we don't have anything left to fight against them. These are things that should be easy to figure out. Easy. And yet you're just like, well, I'll just watch 5 hours of TV. It'll be great. I'll go to a freaking Cubs game. Horrid. Horrid. I mean, with friends like you, who needs enemies? Just like, the Democratic Party. The perpetually now, at this point, the wolves in sheep's clothing, pretending that they represent the working class. They've been bought out a long time ago. A long time ago. Even the ones that are pretending to be egalitarian, anarcho-socialists or whatever the hell they call them now. They're not doing anybody any favors. They're doing that specifically because that they know that will create a narrative, that we're a believable narrative that the Democrats could possibly lose a midterm election in 2026. The whole country is enveloped in hatred for the power apparatus. And you get a Democratic Party who's like, hang on, let me see what the numbers are. Because it's astounding. The numbers. There's 18 in the redistricting in the advance of the 2026 election. There's plus 18 congressional districts that have been turned into full-on Republican districts throughout the country from a mixture of something along about 6, 7, 8 states, something like that have had referendums in order to be able to change it. The Democrats, one state has had a referendum to fight back and take back and reconfigure some districts to help favor the Democrats. The state of California, and it's a +5. So it's a -13 congressional districts in the lead up to the 2026 elections. Virginia wouldn't do it. Spamberger said no. She just said they lost a case and then they just gave up. And none of the other states are doing it. That's what I'm talking about. Plus, all these Democrats and stuff like that are just a bunch of, warmongering, ultra-right-wingers, in sheep's clothing. I don't know what people are expecting out of these people. Spamberger's ex-CIA, right? The Mickey, whatever their name is, from New Jersey is ex-Army, and it's like, and what's his name? Bratner, a guy that got from Maine who was like, had all this history of, being, first of all, hardcore warmonger guy, ex-military, who has a long history of beating up women and hurting, wearing tattoos that have oblique Nazi symbolism, and then he comes out and says, I didn't know it had Nazi symbolism in there. And in the meantime, all the alt-left people are like going, yeah, she's got Nazi symbolism in his tattoos. It's like, swinging, got the people swinging so far to the left, to the right, that, excuse me, I'm sorry, I got a little bit of a thing going there. It's freaking exhausting. Progressivism used to mean tolerance for people. It was a big umbrella for a reason, and diverse for a reason, because people were accepting and believed in others, and just it doesn't exist anymore. And the guy that they got to replace the main guy with all the bad vibes and stuff like that. Like the day that they first mentioned him, they came out with a story about him throwing like a thermos or something like that at his woman, and he's looking like, you look into his eyes and there's something wrong with the guy. He just looks like he's had a troubled past. Like, I remember the first time that they trotted out the Supreme Court Judge Kavanaugh. I was like, Kavanaugh's a molester. Clearly. The minute I saw his face, sometimes you just know. I don't know what it is, and shouldn't use it as prejudicial, against actually getting to know somebody, but it is a pretty good indicator as to what the, inner workings of somebody is. The visage. You can see the molester in their face, There's something about that manifests the chief sort of payback of being an evildoer is to take on the likeness of an evildoer. I don't know who said that or something like that. I've heard it somewhere. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But anyway, it should mean something to you that I can struggle through just feeling like garbage and still do this stuff because it has to get done. It just has to get done. Anyway, so before we get to going on today, so we got some commercials. Pro Lifesaver, it's new Pro Lifesaver candies. It's the hard candy choice of all hardcore right-wingers. That's because each tidbit is loaded with mind-altering chemical that turns people into blindly obedient servants of the one true worldview, that of the Christian conservatives. Enjoy this tasty treat while you're out murdering and harassing abortion doctors, terrorizing politicians who disagree with you, and don't you know that sucking on Pro Lifesavers gives you plenty of loogie saliva, so you're ready to chuck a big honking hawker at the minority of your choice. Yeah, because violating the Constitution while prioritizing your religious and social views over those of others is hard work. Pro Lifesavers make the perfect snack, whether at the Bible study, verbally/physically bashing homosexuals, or simply devising ways in general to hate on your fellow Americans. And outside of the massive doses of psychotropic behavioral stimulants, there are no added artificial flavors or colors in the product. Warning, some samples might contain bits of horse meat juice, or other trace amounts of fast food processing residue, aka horse balls. It's Pro Lifesavers. Suck on one today. And from the writer of Pride and Prejudice now comes finally the sequel everyone's been clamoring for. It's Prude and Prejudice, the Republican story, full of prudeness and prejudice. It's Prude and Prejudice. Get over yourself. And then finally for today, Queen Victoria's Secret lingerie from the makers of Victoria's Secret. It's Queen Victoria's Secret lingerie, Renaissance style lingerie with pantaloons and undergarments and whalebone corsets and shroud of Turins and stuff. It's Queen Victoria's Secret lingerie. Make yourself feel how sexy the late 1800s, early mid 1800s, I don't know, what, Queen Victoria? Let's say late 1800s or something. Jesus Christ. Feel how sexy the late 1800s were with Queen Victoria's Secret. Now available in two colors, black and white. That's it. I guess I figured it all out. How special. Let's get on with our list, shall we? It's going to be a doozy. It's top 10 worst scratch and sniff scents. Number 10, Roseanne Barr's armpits. I saw Roseanne Barr. I hate to admit it, but I did. I just wanted to check it out. It's the only episode I ever saw of Kill Tony, TV series that the newly minted ultra-conservative Netflix wound up producing. And it's watching. It's just the worst pile of crap ever. There's nothing redeeming about it. It's not funny. It's not enlightened. It's not observant. It doesn't have anything positive at all to add to anything that anyone would possibly experience. And then at some point they trot out Roseanne Barr, who I swear doesn't seem to even know where the hell she is. She's so messed up or on goofballs or whatever it is it might be. I don't know, but she just kind of walks out there and she's like, da, 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 and I'm like, Roseanne Barr, what? I mean, she's not even in control of her senses. She doesn't seem to be, in good shape. But you just got to imagine that those armpits are a greasy, drippy mess. And the scratch and sniff interpretation of the scents that are going on under there, it doesn't necessarily make one feel enthusiastic. Enthusiasms. A man must have enthusiasms. Oh, time. it's time for me to do. Speaking of enthusiasms, it's time for me to finally unleash my Godfather imitation. I'm working on this so hard. So here we go. From the Godfather movies, it's my impressions of Don Corleone's. I will say this, that I swear, on the total of Jason, that I did not think of way to break the 50 relationship. Thank you. Thank you. I'm working on that. I've got, that one to add to my other famous impersonations. This is, of course, Steve Martin from his version of the Pink Panther and the Pink Panther Redux movies that he did. Good. And then there's Mr. Roper. And then, I think, Mills Lane. Let's get it on. I'm Mills Lane. And, Nick Nolte from 48 Hours. You're done in the story. Thank you. Wait, hang on. I introduce my co-host for today's show. Ultra Tree / free sound effects library. You're done in the story. All right. This is weak ass bolding. I'm tempted to redo this entire episode. These sniffles aren't helping matters either. Number 9 of top 10 worst scratch and sniff snits. Kid Rock's ball bag. That one's it's not so much the smell, it's the burning in my eyes. Number 8, the neck hole on the bottom of Walt Disney's frozen head. Yeah, oh God. Number 7 of the top 10 worst scratch and sniff scents. Garfield the cat's litter box on the day after lasagna night. Oh, it's an evacuation. This is not a drill. It's time to evacuate the premises. Yes. What a great bit. And now, number 6 of the top 10 worst scratch and sniff scents. John Mayer's used condom. Oh. That's the one I was looking for. All right, number 5 of the top 10 worst of lists is in part sponsored by, from the producers of Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's Raiders of the Lost Narc, where, Indiana-based college professors narc on their students for cheating. It's Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I don't know, man. Mission Impossible for a big, huge guy who's gone frigid and can't get it on. It's Mission Impossible from the producers of Mission Impossible. How's that? It is officially 80 degrees in here. I'm so hot that my teeth hurt. All right, so anyway, number 5, top 10 worst scratch and sniff scents. Donald Trump's adult protective undergarment after an extended G7 meeting. Stink lines. Number 4 of the top 10 worst scratch and sniff scents, Hannibal Lecter's Crawl Space. That one could have been a little bit better. Let me see. Hannibal Lecter's Sword Space. He had the she. You think Hannibal Lecter was a closeted trans person that lashed out and ate people out of some sort of latent trans identity issue that they were having? That's a new take on an old favorite. But anyway, Hannibal Lecter's Storage Space. I made an executive decision to change it on the fly. The number 10 worst scratch and sniff scents. Number 3 would be Madonna's ass crack. And number 2 of the top 10 worst scratch and sniff scents, Seabiscuit's Sniz. Seabiscuit. Is Seabiscuit a girl? I don't even know. Does Seabiscuit have a dork or a hoo-ha? Please inform me in the comment section. And then finally, the number 1 of the top 10 worst scratch and sniff scents is Jeff Goldblum's gimp suit. Yes, indeed. Wow, what an incredible tour through the extraordinary that today's top 10 worst of list has been. Such a list? Why not? Hey, whatever. I think that I know it's, you're thinking this is ending too soon. This is too soon. I know what you want. You want some more of my Godfather imitations. And I'm ready for you. Someday, that day will never come. I will call upon you to do a service for me. But to do that thing, consider this justice, a gift. Oh my gosh, it's what it did. Thank you. Thank you so much. You've been such a generous audience. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's a little offer that you can't refuse there. All right. Well, anyway, again, a pleasure as always. Tuning in tomorrow. Come on back. We got plenty more top 10 worst of lists to bestow upon you. Tomorrow's list, top 10 worst times to hijack a bumper car. You're not going to want to miss any of that. Little Don Corleone just sticking. I gotta go.